Now, when life changes, your vehicle needs often change with it. Maybe your monthly payments are becoming too expensive. Maybe your family has outgrown your current car, or you're simply ready for something new. Now, what happens if you got a lease and you're trying to get out of it? Well, the good news is that getting out of a car lease is possible, and in many cases, easier than most drivers think. So let's take a look at this with Eric Buzaglo, co-founder of Autos Consultants. Eric, welcome back to the program.
Hi, Elias. Very happy to be back.
Let's go through the various scenarios here. Maybe we could start off by what you see in your day-to-day with Autos Consultants, the people that come to you with this predicament.
Yeah, so for many people, they jump into a 4, 5 year, sometimes 3 year lease, and they do contact us because they're in a situation, like you mentioned earlier, their situation has changed, or the monthly payments are too high, or I have a client currently who's moving out of the country and would need to get out of their leasing contract. And so what we do is we do a full-blown examination of our clients' leasing contracts by looking at their monthly payments, annual mileage allowance compared to the mileage that's currently on the car. All that to say is that we do a full-blown examination to see what are their best strategies to get out of their lease.
When people show you those lease contracts, do you see the good, bad, and the ugly? Like, do you look at lease contracts like, wow, this is great? And do you see other ones where you're like, what the heck did you sign here?
Yeah, so for some clients, they signed on their lease originally with us, and their situation has changed, and of course, their leasing contract looks good and clean. But we do have some people who contact us for the very first time, and their leasing contracts sometimes are head scratchers. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes consumers do pay way too much for their lease, and had they had gone through auto consultants, they would have been well served. But no, we do have some head scratchers. We have one client at the moment who's leaving out of the country. Their monthly payments are $944 per month on an Audi Q5, well equipped. But unfortunately, the new models that are out, you can get one into an entry level model that has the similar equipped as the previous generation, and you can get one for about $720 to $750 per month. So there is an incentive that has to be done to incentivize a new lessee to take over the contract.
So let's talk about that. What in someone in that situation where they got to get rid of the lease, but their lease is not the greatest. What are those financial incentives? What are you going to have to spend here to get out of that lease?
Yeah, so it depends at what point you are in your leasing contract. We say that there's a tipping point where it goes from it being worth it to do a lease transfer into doing a early buyout, where we basically find you the best wholesaler who can buy out the remainder of your contract. But so let's say there is 15 months left to the lease. Well, that in itself should be an incentive to have someone who's looking for a short-term lease to take over your contract. If, say, there is another 40 months left to the lease, it's very early on, well, that's when you need to sweeten the pot to encourage someone to take over the lease, and that is comparing your payments to how much they can get one brand new. That's really what we do, is we compare it and see what makes the most sense for their situation.
Can car dealerships or car companies, can they stop you from doing that? Is there anything that can get in the way where no, we won't let you transfer a lease?
No, actually, it's not legal to prevent if you buy from a legacy or OEM automaker. There are some dealerships, like leasing companies, I won't mention them, but they have their own fine prints where you can't do a lease transfer. But if you were to lease a Tesla, or because that's usually the outlier with their own rules, but if you're to lease a Tesla, a Mazda, a Nissan, a Mercedes, all of those you can transfer the lease at any given point, as long as it's within outside the 3-month window of when the lease comes to an end.
I want to talk about this other option here, the early buyout and the resale. And this is when your car is actually worth more than what you owe the leasing company. How often is that happening now in this market? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's interesting because let's rewind 3 years ago. We were in a situation where people were handed nice checks during the lease or at the end of the lease for their leases, and that's why because the residual values on the contracts did not predict the future market value, and so in a situation where someone's buyouts was 21,000 per se, but the market was really calling upon 30, 31. We've had situations where we're handing clients seven, eight, $9,000 checks for their leases. Now it's a little bit different because the residual values that are set out on the contracts uh, are the prediction of the future of that segment and for that vehicle,
Hmm.
and it's a lot more stable now. The car
Gotcha.
industry.
So there may be like an older lease out there that was still done before that fluctuation in the market, where this could be advantageous. But the newer leases that have been signed have taken that into account.
Yeah, so I have one client right now. She has 1 month left to her lease, and we're in a period because she put such little mileage on the car. I'm about to hand her a check for $8,500, and she doesn't know it yet. But she's
Ah.
gonna be well surprised.
And that's the other thing too, right? If you have a lease and you did not put the kilometers on that lease, right? Whatever it is, 16,000, 20,000 a year, if you've stuck low, the value of that vehicle can be quite high if it's got low mileage.
Exactly. It's you sign on your leasing contract at the beginning, your kilometer allowance. So usually it's 12, 16, 20, or 24,000 kilometers a year. If you sign up for 20,000, but you're averaging 10,000 kilometers a year, well, that's to your benefit at the end of lease. But had you known that you're going to put such little mileage, just sign on for the least amount of mileage possible,
Hmm.
because not only are you paying a premium for the kilometer allowance, but you're also paying interest on top of that premium.
So let me ask you to wrap up here about pull ahead programs. This is basically where the car company that you're currently leasing with, well, they'll give you another car and maybe let you out a little bit early from your current lease because of that. So let's talk about that method.
Yeah, so we see this, it's very common for current lessees. Let's say you're leasing a BMW. They have these programs where they are very eager to keep you in the family. And what that means is that they will offer uh, an interest discount for loyal customers, and that is a way to sweeten the pot. And we see this a lot with the German brands because they're very generous with their interest rate reductions for loyal customers. We're talking about 1.5 to 2% rate reductions. We see it at Lexus too. But for the average everyday car, they'll offer a rate reduction of 0.5% to 1.5%. And that is a way to encourage people to sign on the same brand as they're currently leasing.
Eric, if you could leave our listeners with one piece of wisdom for those who are going to lease a car and we want to avoid them getting a sucker's lease, right? Maybe if you got some tips, advice on how not to get stuck with a bad lease in the first place.
Yeah, well, I'll say the first and one thing that we always encourage is to have people contact us because we treat our clients' lease as if it's our very own car that we're getting. And so we'll do a full-blown examination of what their needs are and to have them look out into the future 3, 4, 5 years from now, what their situation is going to be like. We have clients who jump into a Nissan Kicks, but they don't realize, okay, well, 2 years from now, we're going to have multiple kids. That car is not going to suit our needs. So we have them look a little bit into the future, and that way when they sign on a 4-year contract, they're not one to want to change course a few months in. And also making sure that they're very happy with the car, so making sure that they test drive it to see if the car suits their lifestyle and their needs. People who are leasing an electric car. I had a client who was leasing an electric car, but she doesn't have a charger at home, and it was just an absolute disaster to find a plug nearby and wait and all that stuff. So we do an examination to make sure that you're well set for the next 4 years ahead.
All right, Eric, got to leave it there. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Liz.
That's to Eric Buzaglo, the co-founder of Autos Consultants.
The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.